listening to the Marketing Personalities Podcast, a podcast for growth-minded entrepreneurs that serves up valuable insight and interviews about aligning your marketing strategy with your personality type. Because here's the deal. You shouldn't have to feel fake and salesy in order to grow your business. And you no longer have to. Your marketing strategy can feel good to implement and it can work. You can attract the right clients and customers to your business and grow your profits, all while staying true to who you naturally are. So in the name of honest business growth, bring your unique talents, perspectives, and personality to the table. And join us on this week's podcast episode to discover marketing that feels good for you. Welcome back to another episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. I'm Brit Kolo, and I'm here today to get real about marketing for introverts. Can introverts even do marketing? Aren't all the marketing strategies really best done by extroverts? And if introverts can market their businesses well, what would that even look like? These are the kinds of questions I see bopping around the internet constantly. And I want to put an end to all of this questioning, okay? So first of all, we need to get clear about what introversion actually is. What makes an introvert an introvert? Okay, here's the deal. Introverts tend to be more sensitive to external stimuli than extroverts. That's it. That's as simple and as clear as it gets, okay? So introverts tend to be more sensitive to external stimuli, those things that our bodies can sense, right? Hear, taste, smell, feel. Introverts just tend to be a little bit more sensitive to that stimuli, more so than extroverts. So that's it. And yet, I think when people talk about introverts and introversion, there's a whole slew of other things that come into the picture. And you, as you're listening to this, might have some misconceptions about what introversion actually is. Now that I've painted the picture of what introversion actually is, here's what introversion is not. Introversion is not hating people. And it is not really enjoying being around people. Introversion is not about being quiet. It's not about being shy. Introverts don't necessarily keep feelings to themselves. All of these just, misconceptions. Okay, so if an introvert is more sensitive to external stimuli, there may be an effect that happens because of that cause, but let's not confuse the effect with the cause, okay? And the cause of introversion is simply being more sensitive to external stimuli, okay? So now that we've got that cleared up, it's about external stimuli and how sensitive you are to that makes you an introvert or an extrovert. So now the problem as it relates to this podcast and marketing personalities as a whole is this. If introverts are sensitive to external stimuli, isn't marketing kind of a minefield? Isn't marketing about putting yourself out there, quote unquote, and therefore opening yourself up to a whole bunch of external stimuli? I mean, isn't that just too scary to actually feel good for any introvert, right? These are the kinds of questions that come up. And I want us to slow down for a second, okay? And realize it can be done. Introverts are some of the most brilliant marketers out there. Some of the most successful, well-known entrepreneurs you can think of right now are introverts, okay? So did they just rig their system to show up as an extrovert all the time? No, that would never work because when you feel good, your audience feels good. So if you're an introvert trying to act like an extrovert, your audience will pick up on that fake-ish vibe and not trust you. So no, they didn't rig the system. The answer here is not to figure out ways to show up as an extrovert, even though you're an introvert. The answer is to show up in the way you would as an introvert, because that's completely, totally, 100% enough. seriously, some of the hottest marketing tactics that are trending right now in 2019 are actually best done by introverts. Search engine optimization, Facebook ads, Google ads, content marketing, email marketing. The list goes on and on. Now, each specific personality type has their one specific best marketing strategy. I'm not going to say all introverts need to be doing this in their marketing strategies, okay? Because out of all the personality types, 8 of them are introverts, and each of those 8 have vastly different marketing strategies that feel good to them. If you want to tap into exactly what your best marketing strategy is based on all your 4 letters, not just the I that stands for introvert, go to marketingpersonalities.com. And to dive in even further, get your marketing personality type full report, which you can get for $10 off by using the promo code MPP. That's the code I only share with podcast listeners. So don't forget to apply it at checkout. Saving you $10 here. Okay, so back to the topic of introversion specifically. It's just a huge misconception that so many people accept as truth, that extroverts are better at marketing than introverts. And from my perspective, that is a straight up lie. So what I've done is I'm bringing several introverts onto the show over the next few weeks to show you how to use your introverted nature to your advantage when marketing your business. We are going to discuss what it's like to be an introverted coach and an introverted mompreneur and an introverted creative. We're even going to talk about how to develop an introverted PR strategy. And there are so many more nuggets found within these interviews. So in this episode, I'm previewing some themes and trends you are undoubtedly going to pick up on over the next few weeks of interviews. And really, I just want to get you thinking about your introversion in a different way, perhaps in a different way than you've done in the past. And for those of you who are extroverts, listen up. This is 100% for you as well. I'm an extrovert, and I'm telling you this from extrovert to extrovert. If you are an extrovert listening to this, I really want you to listen to these as well, because you also need to realize what it's like to be an introvert and build up a bit of compassion for your colleagues who are on the opposite end of the spectrum from you. And I know that a lot of extroverts relate to me, and I feel this way too. You kind of feel like you're in the middle. So you show up as an extrovert, but you feel like you kind of have those introverted moments, days, weeks, even sometimes months. And so you're going to learn a lot from these interviews as well. So stay tuned to this. And remember, everybody, whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, the extroverted way is not the only way. And in all cases, it's not the right way, because there is no right or wrong way universally. There's only a right and wrong way for you. And you get to decide what feels good and what doesn't feel good. Your personality type will give you clues into what your natural tendencies lean toward. And then you get to choose how you want to respond and live and market and do business. Okay? So there are 3 major themes that kept cropping up in these interviews with introverts that you'll definitely hear, and I'm previewing them now. So when the interview is released, you're open to receiving wisdom from them. Okay? So number 1, first theme was this. You have permission to do this your own way. Every single interview I had with an introvert at one point or another made its way to the topic of permission, granting you permission to do things the way you see fit, regardless of what it seems like the quote unquote rest of the world is doing, especially if the rest of the world cheers on the extrovert, which it does. I'm not going to go into that because that is a huge topic. So many other people have gone into the depths of how our modern society works and how it cheers on and puts the extrovert on a pedestal. Okay. So if you're interested in that and kind of want to know more about that, maybe that's kind of news to you, but in your gut, you're like, ooh, I kind of feel like that's true. Yeah. There are plenty of people on the internet and in the world willing to go through that with you. Just do a simple Google search and you will find it. I think that may be why this permission slip, this big, huge permission slip to do this your own way, has come up in these interviews. A great example of permission giving came from Kara Rice, who is a coach for introverted coaches. She explains in her interview that she doesn't take coaching calls until 11 a.m., which allows her plenty of time in the mornings to charge her batteries and get to a place of calm power before holding space and serving her clients well. So that 9 to 5 schedule the entire world wants us to adhere to, totally unnecessary. Totally unnecessary. You have permission to work whenever you see fit. Now, the second theme that you can't miss is that some of the most powerful marketing strategies do not require you to be personally visible. So here's what you can do. You can take that old, outdated phrase of putting yourself out there. You're going to hear it in a lot of these interviews. And I say it a bunch of times. I'm kind of like a broken record, but you're hearing it for the first time in this episode. Putting yourself out there. I can't stand that phrase. And the whole idea of networking, okay? Take those old, outdated phrases and ideas of putting yourself out there and networking, crumple those things up, throw them in the trash, and then set the trash on fire. Seriously. There is zero reason to be confined to those old, outdated frameworks of marketing. If your mind has been stuck in that putting yourself out there and needing to network at stuffy events put on by the Chamber of Commerce, friend, I'm waving my magical wand over your head right now and commanding you to snap out of it. There are so many other ways that so work and feel amazing to the introvert, I promise. Plus, you'll hear in these interviews how, yes, some marketing strategies do ask you to be visible, even for introverts, but there's still a way to be visible to your audience in an introverted way. Okay? If you don't believe me, listen to the next few weeks of interviews. We will absolutely make you a believer. I have no doubt in that. Okay. And then the third and final theme here that came up both in my interviews that I've hosted and in personal conversations that I've had recently with introverts is that we all have to be careful to distinguish between an introvert's nature and a fear of judgment. Because to be introverted, you're naturally more sensitive to external stimuli, things that the body can sense, hear, taste, smell, feel. But what a few introverts have reflected to me recently is that sometimes they blame their behavior on being introverted when really what they are is scared of being judged. So they don't put themselves out there, hit publish, reach out to someone who could make their business grow, not because they're an introvert, but because they're scared of being judged, being told no, or of failing. And this has been hugely eye-opening for me too, even as an extrovert, because I realize that I have this tendency as well. Sometimes I feel like an introvert wanting to stay in, be by myself. And sometimes I genuinely feel exceptionally sensitive at that time and therefore truly swing into introversion. But at other times, I'm not actually more sensitive. I'm hiding, wanting to stay in, be by myself because I'm scared of judgment. I'm scared of getting told no when I want to hear yes. I'm scared of failing. So I myself am definitely chewing on this concept right now. And I want to bring this up to you to see how this might apply to your own life experience. Are you relishing in a low stimulated environment because you are introverted? Or are you hiding out there because you're afraid of judgment? And I think the answer to those questions might change by the day. I think they do for me. And I want to be clear, I'm definitely not saying every introvert is afraid of judgment. That do not mishear me here. I'm simply posing the question. So you might ask yourself this as you go about your life and operate in your business and implement your marketing strategy. Okay? So that's what's coming at you in the next few weeks. And if this episode has sparked something inside of you and you'd like to share some insight or an experience you've had as an introverted entrepreneur, please reach out to me on Instagram. I'm at Marketing Personalities, and I'd love to hear from you and see what else I can learn about introversion and what else I might be able to share with the audience at large. So hit me up on Instagram. Let's have a conversation. And of course, we'll be back next week with our first introverted interview featuring Kat Rose of The Creative Introvert. Stay tuned. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Now it's time to connect your marketing strategy to your personality type. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to download your marketing personality type full report. Use the code MPP at checkout to get $10 off. And that's a super special code for podcast listeners as a way to say thank you for being here. In your full report, you'll learn about your personality type, how it relates to the work you do, what your best marketing strategy includes so you can start implementing it right away, what your worst marketing strategy includes so you can avoid it, and so much more. Go to marketingpersonalities.com/MPP to get your full report and use the code MPP at checkout to receive $10 off your purchase. And one more thing before you skip on to the next podcast. Would you please share this episode with your entrepreneur friends who also need to feel good about their marketing strategies? Take a quick screenshot of your podcast app right now and share it out via text, Facebook, or my favorite, Instagram. Remember to tag me at Marketing Personalities in the photo so I can be sure to send you a huge high five and thank you for sharing the love. This podcast is edited and produced by the Podcast Engineers. They're pretty great, and you can find them at podcastengineers.com. That's all for now. Thanks as always for listening, and I'll catch you back here next week on the Marketing Personalities Podcast. Love ya. Bye.